But
Perhaps. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, well, it's great to meet you. And I want to begin
Yeah.
our conversation with surviving the last 3.5 years. How did you get through the pandemic and how did it change you?
Oh, okay. Well, I wrote a book during the pandemic. And how did it change me? I think I just, like a lot of people, just kind of became a little bit more introverted. I was already pretty introverted, but I became closer with my kids, which was nice.
Yeah.
But it definitely changed my career in terms of getting out there and just kind of getting back out there again in terms of teaching and with groups of people, things like that. I'm sure you've heard that before, that took us a while to kind of get back into a rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly did. So let's get to the essence of what you do right now for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day. And one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Well, I write books about how to help people feel their feelings, talk about their feelings, learn about what they are, learn about how they can help them, and learn how to appreciate what they feel. So that's what I would say to a bunch of third graders. I would ask them about their feelings, probably, and a lot of them would probably look at me with a blank stare. "Well, I'm not really sure." And I say, "Well, I wasn't sure either. You're
Yeah.
not alone." That's what I would say. I would say nobody does. Nobody really knows. We know we have them, but we don't really know what to do with them when we feel
Yeah.
angry or upset, or and so that's what I do, is kind of break that down for those of us who just feel like we never got those or never really fully understood how to do that. That's what I do.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
In the 3rd grade,
Yeah.
my dream? I'm not really sure. I know at one point I wanted to be a probably for the glamour of it all, but I wanted to be a fly on airplanes and things like that. But this so furthest from who I am now. I'm not a big traveler, so
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. I think I was just probably looking for some freedom at that
Yeah.
point. What would make me feel free and help me to see the world? And as a 3rd grader, I probably was wondering about those things. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So how did you arrive at this point? Take me back to where you were born and raised and how writing and specifically helping people, how did that become a part of your growth and evolution as a person?
Well, journaling was a big thing for me, journaling my feelings. That's probably how I started to get to know them, allowed them to exist, how to express them. Also reading self-help books myself, which now is very common and popular, but back then not many people did read those. My first book was Leo Buscaglia, which was from my mother, and it was all about how to love yourself. And I carried it was like a little pocket version, which was perfect because I carried it wherever I went, and I cut out little verses. So I was really big on quotes. I don't
Yeah.
know if you're you must be into quotes.
Oh yeah. Of
Yeah,
course.
I was
Yeah.
always had quotes everywhere,
Yeah.
like writing them down and putting them up so I could read them and reread them. And so they were inspiration, right? When we get a quote and we connect to it, that really helped shape me. I think my mother gave me these self-help books because she truly thought she needed to, because things were so crazy in the house. I think it was her way of saying, well, at least I'm doing something. Whether she reads it, I don't know. And I actually did read them. And I read Marianne Williams's book, Return to Love, when I was 18. And it's funny because now it's all, in his newest edition. And people are like, "Have you read that?" I'm like, "I read that when I was 18, you know?" So it's always just sort of been a part of my life and felt very comfortable in that.
Yeah. Who's been a hero for you? Who's been ultimate inspiration to fuel who you are?
I would say my husband.
Yeah.
I think he's my hero for sure. Yeah, he's definitely a source of inspiration. at this point in my life. I think it changes, you have
Sure.
different heroes as you develop and grow and change, but I think definitely him.
So if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would it be? Who would you love to talk to?
Oh gosh. They have to be on the planet.
Well, no, they can be ghosts, and we can open the door up to
I
everything.
would love to have a conversation with Jesus himself.
Yeah.
Not that we all don't have these conversations in some shape or form. I actually do talk, a lot to spirit, and all of that guides, ask questions, ask for answers, receive answers. That's all through my emotions. That's how I learned how to do it.
Yeah.
And I think I think I already do talk to who I want to talk to. I talk to the higher guidance, pure source energy is what I call it. I feel like the information is sort of untainted that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is the motivation for you? I mean, it's not just like you have a job, you're helping people, you're actively trying to help them get to a better place. What is that motivation for you to wake up every day, to be that person, not only for others, but to evolve as a person as well?
I think my motivation definitely is my family and wanting to offer any assistance, wanting to grow so they can grow, wanting to serve so that I can help them serve and carry out their passion and their mission. I definitely think my motivation is God, undoubtedly. Serving God in any way that I can and keeping the energy alive here on the planet of connection, whatever that means to people. I'm not talking religious terms. I'm talking about teaching people how to open themselves up and receive the gifts that are available. So I think the motivation is I feel like I work for God. I don't really feel like, I work for myself. I am an adjunct psychology professor and I've been doing that forever, but that's just a side gig. That's just a way for me to experience other points of view and teach and learn and continue to grow myself as a person and again to sustain life here on the planet, for myself and my children and give a hand, just pitch in. I'm
Yeah.
pitching in like everybody else, we all got to pitch in. Nobody can just sit around and let everybody else do. We all have to give a hand in this.
Yeah. It's kind of like when the goes out and people are like, "Oh, someone's going to call." Like, just call.
Exactly. I love that.
Go
So
ahead. Just make the call, right? So
yeah.
So the one thing that you've mentioned, and I think for a lot of people, because there's a level, and I come from Missouri, so we're the show me state. So there's a level of invisibility that people just aren't really clear about. So when we talk about spirits and reaching out and connecting, it can kind
Mm,
of throw people off. They've just put up a block. What
sure.
what what would be your recommendation for somebody to be a little bit more open and to bring that fence down? I know it's not that simple, but
Yeah.
what would be one step that somebody could take to open themselves up, to cleanse themselves in that energy way, so to speak?
Well, I think when you shut yourself down to spirit, you're going to shut your emotions down. Like you can't have one without the other. So it's the same way. If you open up yourself emotionally, you're going to open yourself up to something greater because you're something greater. So I very much felt like some of those listeners, I wasn't quite sure. I have a lot of clients that either have been turned off by religion. They felt some people had bad experiences, some people good experiences, positive experiences. And I think some of my mission, what I do is teach people, well, there's another way in. It doesn't have to be the way that society sort of set it up for you. You
Hmm.
can go inward yourself
Yeah,
and have your own inner church, so to speak, or
yeah,
inner sanctuary or inner guidance. There's ways to do that, but I really don't know if you're going to access it fully if you're shoving your emotions under the rug and
yeah,
ignoring them.
yeah. And it seems almost particularly like males are more susceptible to that because that's just kind of what we do. We bury everything, you
Mhm.
know. I mean,
Mhm.
I live with three generations of very energetically sensitive women, and they're very open and see things, and lots of things are going on. And I'm just like, I kind of feel like I'm in that show Ghost. Like they're all looking at these things around me and I'm not aware of it. But
That's
that's
funny.
unfortunately the way that the male brain has been conditioned. You just tamp it down, and then it just kind of is like a volcano. It's like Mount St. Helens. Like one day it's like just the whole mountain's gone. So
Mm.
it's
Well, that was my husband for many, many years, and he's been around me for a long time now. And I think at one point he was very nervous. Like, what is she doing? What is she getting involved with? Is this safe? Is this healthy? Do I want my kids around this? I mean, he definitely had to go through that and moved away from me rather than toward me.
yeah,
And what he told me was it really was when he was going out in the community, and perhaps I might have had a client or something say something to him, how much I helped them, how much better they feel. And I think it was really that for him where he was like, "Oh, you're really helping people. Like it's making a difference." And so he's let his guard down. But I think that's very normal and healthy. If anybody else is going through that, where you feel like your partner is, or your relative or your whoever they are, and you're like, I can't quite line up with them.
yeah,
I think it's important that we don't get kind of snooty about this, that
yep,
you don't think you're better than someone because you have spiritual. I think that's a turnoff, that humility piece, and also moving towards connection.
yeah,
It's not about, I'm growing, you're not growing. That
right.
I hear that a lot. And I think that's all management of anxiety and fear. And if you can start really processing my emotions was the turning point that changed me and it changed my marriage.
So what's the best fan letter you've gotten from your book? Best response?
Oh boy. I mean, I think it's when I have someone who doesn't want to live anymore. That transformation.
Yeah,
When someone says, I'm that low, and I see and them come back and then they transform into
yeah,
such incredibly strong people that I admire. And then they start teaching me stuff, right? It's like the tables get turned. I feel like I'm just a support. I'm no longer a guide. I'm just there to just say, holy crap, you are amazing. So
yeah,
I think those are the ones that really touch my heart. I've also, I'm not saying that the answer is always to stay together, but I always say there's a lot of people out there that owe me some flowers.
there you go.
because because I encourage their partners to not to throw in the towel so quickly and to
Yeah,
try to work through things. And I am, sometimes I've been successful and sometimes not, but regardless, I think that's always beautiful when I see a family work through something.
yeah. The funny thing about life is that we have all these moments when we're younger where we kind of remember it and maybe the memory is skewed. Is there a thing that happened to you early on in life that you would have loved to have witnessed right now to see what the reaction was of you and others and just to see how it all played out?
An event in my life.
Yeah, just something that
Um,
happened, maybe a conversation or something that happened, or maybe having a conversation with like a grandparent or something like that, something going back to those younger years and revisiting something.
mm, I didn't really have a traditional the childhood, so to speak. I had kind of some unique experiences. I had a family member in prison, so we would go to the prison on Sundays. And I had my mother worked with rape crisis victims. I was around a lot of heaviness,
Yeah,
but I was told I handled it very well. And there was even though it was heavy, I somehow felt the purpose of it all
yeah.
and the resiliency of it all. And so I think for me, it would just be sort of witnessing, like, oh, how did I handle that? Like,
Hmm.
how, because that's what they tell me.
Right.
And I think observing that and seeing how it shaped me in my life would be kind of an interesting thing to observe.
Yeah, to watch your own movie in real time.
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, of all of the things that you've done and overcome and become and accomplished in your life, what are you the proudest of?
My marriage. I think definitely I had the marriage that I have and how that affects our children. No doubt. That's my priority. I'm proud of, I've written 10 books. I'm writing the 11th now. It's about to go out there. I am proud of that and teaching myself a lot of this, becoming an entrepreneur
Yeah,
and learning the ropes of that. It's quite the journey. And being able to create a jobs where I was able to be there for my kids. And I continue to do that. So I'm present. I'm able to give them a ride if they need to go somewhere. I don't have to scramble, which I know that's very fortunate. I mean, I have to scramble, but you know what I mean. I'm
sure.
not locked down. So having it work out was like, whoa, I actually created it and actually worked. Imagine that. And
Yeah,
actually did what I needed it to do at that
yeah.
point for those years in my life.
So, as a writer, what was the very first book that you read that really opened the curtains and made you either want to write or made you want to read voraciously?
There, I read a book that was called Writing Begins with a Breath. And that was what turned me on. And how it was different was it not only was a book about writing, I looked in that book and I looked at who they credited the book to.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they credit their editors. And I zoomed in on that editor and then I researched her and I found her and she became one of my big mentors.
Oh, wow. That's excellent.
Yeah.
So, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, all of your readers, all of the colleagues, everybody in your life. But you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think that I'm a spiritual being in this physical body and I think I'm energy, made of energy and light. I think who am I? I mean, I'm more than the roles that I play. I know that. I mean, I know the roles that the character I play here and who's around me and what's important and what's not. I think I know a lot about energy. I think who am I? I'm someone who really knows energy and am not afraid to dive into the energy of emotions. So I think I'm brave in that respect. If I'm going to willing to dive into topics that are uncomfortable for people and find a way to communicate and teach people that's practical and real life stuff, not um, like fantasy or real, just getting back to the basics kind of thing of what's important.
Yeah. What's the best part of living in Cape Cod?
Oh, I mean, definitely the views, the
Yeah.
ocean, the beauty is the best part. It's still quaint here. It's gets pretty trafficky like other tourist places, but you can find places to go to walk and have some quiet and you can still feel like you're away. If you go to certain parts of the Cape, you can feel like, oh, I feel like I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
And you're only like 20 minutes from your house. So that's nice.
Yeah, that is. So, do you remember The World According to Garp, the movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that where it was at? It was based, wasn't it, up on Cape Cod?
I think but I think so. I
That's
mean,
that because my
yeah.
brain goes to like Hollywood,
Yeah.
like all these vignettes of story that I've read and all these Hollywood tales. And I really remember that because I remember the
That's a good
view was
point.
crazy and they'd always talk about the Cape. It always came up. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, I had to get my historical relevance out. So
Well,
so
there's always Jaws.
yeah, of course there is. Yeah, I didn't want to go there. That's I wanted to find something a little bit more obscure. So,
Yeah.
uh, but so if anyone wants to pick up your book, they want to reach out to you, any
Yeah.
questions, anything about your world, where do they go?
It's my name, SheriannaBoyle.com.
Okay. That's easy enough. Sherianna, thank you so much for your time today. Have a great 2024.
Thank you.
Take
You
care.
too.